Hi, good morning, everyone. Okay, so yesterday we have seen how we can perform the deserialization with the help of a JSON parser class. When we say deserialization, it actually means converting a JSON data into Apex form. So converting a JSON data into the Apex form, this is something called as deserialization. So whenever in real time, if we are receiving certain quantities, if we are receiving certain parameter or certain records from external system, from third party system. So that data is always going to be in the form of JSON form. Whenever you are receiving this something from external applications, external web services, APIs, and you are receiving it inside in Salesforce, that means the Salesforce is going to be a receiver. Salesforce would be the receiver. So whenever you are receiving certain parameters or a record from external third-party system, that is always is going to be in the form of JSON format. That always is going to be in the form of JSON form. Then how would we convert that JSON? How would we going to convert that JSON in the Apex, in the Salesforce object record, as object record? That process is called as deserialization. And to perform the deserialization, we have a class called JSON Parser class, which we have studied in yesterday's session, that there is a class. There is a ready-made class inside in Apex programming that can perform this operation of deserialization. So we have understood what are the different methods of the JSON parser class. We also have understood what is the use of JSON token enumerations, how we can use these enumerations inside in the if statement to find it out what is the present state, or rather what is the value of current token. What is the value? What is the type? What is the present state of current token that we have seen? So yesterday I created a very small example. If we have a JSON string like this, how could we parse and display that data that we have seen? That was a very small example, although I also have given you as a homework to go and make your research about what is a wrapper class, what is the purpose of a wrapper class. I have shown you one example where how efficiently we can use wrapper class while performing the integrations. So these are some of the things that we already had a discussions about all those things. Now let me extend this, and we would be going to learn that if we are receiving a data that belongs to any object of Salesforce, if we are receiving a JSON content, if we are receiving a JSON payload, a JSON response, and that belongs to an Salesforce object, means it's a Salesforce record. How would you are going to parse in that case? So as you can see on the screen, there is an example. Write an Apex program to deserialize the below JSON content in the form of an account record. That means, what do you see over here right now? This data, name, rating, industry, and their respective values as well. If you can observe, this data would represent this data, although in the form of JSON, it is in the form of JSON, but actually this represents one account record. So how we are going to parse that data, and not just parsing, how we can, after parsing, how we can store this value inside in the account object. This is really a very important program, because in real time, whenever we perform an integration, particularly inbound integration. There are two forms of integrations, inbound and outbound. Inbound when you are receiving something from external system. Outbound when you are transferring something to the external system. When we are performing an inbound integration where Salesforce is expected to become a receiver, and so that it could receive certain data, certain records from external third-party system, and thereafter we have to store that data inside any object of the Salesforce. That data is always going to be in the form of JSON. We would going to deserialize that. We're going to convert that JSON into Apex Salesforce object record, and then we would going to convert it. We're going to store it inside that object. So this example is really a very important example, considering what you are actually going to do in real time. All right. So this is really, really, really important. All right. So we have a JSON string as we were having yesterday as well. Now I wanted to convert this JSON, and I wanted to particularly deserialize that, and moreover, I wanted to store that inside in account record. So I shall go to the account and let me see whether we have any such account record with this name called Raghav Sharma, and just try to check it out quickly. I'm going to the list of R. You can see there's only one name with us, and that's Rahat. It's not being displayed, but I can definitely see it from here. It's probably is getting sorted according to the last name. If I would make a click on K, I could probably got this. He's still not. That's pretty amazing. Anyways, but definitely we don't have Raghav Sharma, as you can see. That data, let's consider that we are receiving this data from a third-party system in the form of JSON. This is that JSON payload. Now we would be going to convert this in the form of Salesforce object, rather account record. All right. So we already have a class called JSON Parser utility. I'll go to developer console and I'll quickly open that class JSON Parser utility where we have coded yesterday as well. This is that class. Yesterday we have created this method, and see how we have coded this all. I'm going to follow the same pattern today itself. For every program, you also have to follow the same pattern. What is that? First of all, you would require to store that JSON data into string in a particular variable. All right. So you have defined one variable for that, and you have stored that complete JSON payload, this one, inside in that variable, isn't it? Now, after that, once that has been done, you have created the object of JSON parser class. Step number 2. That's step number 2. And how you do that? System.json parser, name of the object equals to system.json.create parser. And here you particularly would require to give the name of that variable. Instead of that, you can give this string over here. If you wanted to minimize one line, then that is also possible. It would rather make this look a little complicated, and this is more readable, but you have a choice. All right. Then we are going to iterate this whole data from the first symbol to the last symbol. That means we are going to iterate it from starting of string to the last of string, starting of token to the last of token. How we are going to do that? We would design a while loop. After that, everything depends on the type of string, the type of JSON payload. So after that, what kind of enumerations, what kind of methods we are going to use, that completely is dependent onto this, right? But at least, this up to this part, I can say you would be going to perform up to this part, step number 1, 2, and 3, right? Up to this part. For every program, whatever you are constructing, you would be going to follow the same steps. This is the conventional approach. This is the conventional approach. I am going to follow this right now because I wanted you to understand certain similarities between the approach what you have studied yesterday and today what you are going to design. I wanted you to find out the similarities of it. But after performing this, after writing this whole program, if time would permit me, I am going to show you the most optimized way to deserialize a JSON content. But that can be only applicable if you are deserializing it for a Salesforce object record. If there is a record that belongs to, that could be get stored, that can be stored, sorry, that can be stored inside a Salesforce object. In that case only you can do that. Otherwise not, unless you have a wrapper class. All right, I'm going to show you that. देखते हैं उसके बारे में, वहां तक पहुंचेंगे, वो बताना है मुझे, आज नहीं तो कल बताऊंगा, लेकिन जरूर, डोंट वरी. Public static void, you can give any name to the method, but since I have to parse a JSON content which I am going to, I would be going to store it inside account. So I would be rather giving this name. You can give any name. Try always to give the relevant as far as possible. So public static void, a method which I have created is parse account JSON. I would be going to follow the same pattern which we did. Like I'm going to create one variable of the type string, and this entire JSON, I'm going to store it inside in this, right? Not like this, but like this. All right. So this is that complete record. And see, when you are storing something inside in the string form, you cannot split it into multiple lines. Remember this. So this has to be given inside in the single line. This has to be given inside in the single line. So when you are creating a program with developer console, all right, this seems to be, little hectic, but if you're doing the same thing with your VS code, there you can wrap the words. Here you cannot do that. You cannot have anything. There's nothing called as word wrap over here in this editor, although. Anyways, that's a different story. So I have just stored that. Now, as a second step, I'm going to create that the object of your JSON parser class, right? So what I'm going to do, system dot JSON parser. Now give any name like a parser. You can give your name as well. If you wanted to do that, you can give any name, system.json.create parser. Now this create parser should supply that string, JSON string, right? So I have stored this inside this variable. I'm going to give the name of that variable over here. So from this onward, I would be using a parser as a representative, as an object of parser, right? Now, I am going to iterate. I would be iterating this like we did this in yesterday's session. I'm going to follow the same pattern, nothing else. While a parser dot next token is not equals to null. Till the time you get the tokens, you would be going to, you would going to iterate inside in the loop. Otherwise, you are going to land out of the loop. Here, otherwise, you are going to land out of the loop. So till that next token value is not null, the loop is going to be iterated. And now, same thing, exactly same. If that p parser, let me just copy. See, the first statement, I have exactly write it down. If the p parser dot get current token, the value of that current token, what is the value? It's name. We have to, sometimes we have to visualize to understand what we are writing. You have to visualize that the cursor right now is on this name. What is this name? Get the current token. And if that token is a field name, JSON token dot field name. Yes, it is field name. All right. If it's a field name, then get text. And if that get text is name, if that get text is name, then go to the next token. And then what you can write down is here, because I wanted to let me do one more thing because I wanted to store this record inside an account object. I am introducing one more step over here. I would be creating an object of account because I wanted to store this, right? In the last program, we have used system.debug. In the last program, we have used system.debug at this moment, right? I don't want it to display, rather I wanted to store. When you wanted to store something inside in the object, you have to create a local object of that. So I'm doing that. I have created an object of account class, account object, whatever you wanted to say. Now, after knowing to this, go to pparser.next token. That means you come over here, over this value. What do you have to do? What you have to do? You wanted to display? No, 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 no. Rather, name equals to acc.name equals to a parser dot get text. Why text? Because name. As you can see, this value is a string value, right? If you don't have understand, let me code it further. You would be going to understand it. Don't worry. I would first of all would try to save up to this and showing me the errors. Oh, p parser. That's why. I'm not using p parser. I'm using a parser. But here as well. So I copied and pasted it out, but I forgot to edit that, right? So it's a parser, it's not p parser. All right. See what I did. Let me explain you once before I go further. This process, I'm iterating that JSON content from first token to the last token till the time the token values does not equals to null. I'm iterating that. So if pparser.get current token, let's assume we are standing the cursor, the control right now is standing onto this. Get the value of current token and it's a field name. Yes, it's a field name. It's a field name, so that condition is satisfied. There's one more condition and get the text. If it's a field name, get the text. And if even the text equals to name, this has to be very same. I'm telling you once again, this is case sensitive. So the value what you are writing over here, that should exactly have a match with the JSON content, with the JSON payload. Even if a small character, if you would change a small character, single character, not small character, if you would even change a single character out of this, it's going to give you the error. This condition wouldn't going to be get satisfied. That part would be skipped because we are designing this inside if state, right? So this has to be always same, right? So if it is that, go to next token, go to next. Now this Raghav Sharma, what we wanted to do, are we supposed to display this? Are we supposed to write down system.debug? No, no, no. I wanted to pass this content and create one account record so that I could store it. Now creating an account record. So what I'm going to do, I'm not inserting it every entity at a time. What we are doing, we are rather would be creating a record, isn't it? We are creating a record that like, okay, name value is that Raghav Sharma. And then the rating value is hot. And then the value of industry is like, banking. And then the type would be like, prospect. And similarly, once that complete record is created, I'm going to insert that. I would be inserting that. Once that complete record is created, then I would be going to insert that inside the account object. So right now, what I'm doing, I'm creating a record. So if you are creating a record, you must have an object of that object of class account. So that's why I have created this. So acc.name is this. Now, how to get this? What is the value? What type of value it is? Is it a number value? No, because if it was a number value, then I'm going to make a use of get integer. If it was a date value, I would be using get date time wala method. But because as you can see, it's a string value, and to get the data of string value, we have a method called get text, right? So that's why I have written it. That is the reason I have written it. All right. Now let me pass the other contents as well. I'll go further with this program. I'll quickly copy and paste it out. Then if that pparser dot get current token, we are sure after moving out of this scope of if statement, that cursor goes one step ahead automatically, that we have confirmed with the last program yesterday. So P parser dot get current token, if it's a field name, the next would be yes rating. The next would be rating. And if that get text would be if it's rating. If it is rating, then go to the next token and ACC dot rating. ACC dot rating equals to whatever the value of get text is. So it's hot, so it's going to assign that, right? What is next? Industry. That is also a string. So I would repeat this same. This seems to be a pretty simple step if you are understanding in a way which I wanted to you understand. What is the next thing? Industry. So if p parser dot get current token, if it's a field name and it is a field name, then get the text. And if that text is rating industry, if that text is industry, if that text is industry, then go to the next token and inside ACC dot industry store that value. Inside ACC dot industry store that value. What is next? After industry, it is type. After industry, it is type. So what I'm going to do would be like, I would be just copying and pasting it out once again. So after industry, it is type. So ACC dot next token, get the value, store it inside accounts type field, isn't it? Store that value inside accounts type field. And because type is also a string, so every time I'm using the get text. Get text based on the value. Annual revenue, as you can see, is going to be a number. That time I'm going to make that difference. I'm not going to make a use of get text. I would be making a use of get integer that time. So what is next? Ownership. The next is ownership. So I would be copying this and pasting it out. P parser dot get current token if that is a field name. If it's a field name and the value is ownership, then ACC dot account dot ownership, the field of account, the name called ownership should get that value. Should get that value. After that, let me copy this and paste it out. After ownership, it is annual revenue. So if p parser dot get current token, if it's a field name and that field name is annual revenue, in that case, ACC dot annual revenue should get the value because that is the annual revenue is what? Is a number. So rather I would be using this get integer or decimal. If that integer value, integer would only give you that whole number. Here you can use decimal, get decimal as well. If annual revenue, let's say for any value, if the annual revenue is in the form of decimal number, then we can use that as well. So we have a choice. Let me now copy and paste it out once again. And now after annual revenue, it's phone. But phone is a string, all right? Phone is not a number. So if it's a field name and that field name is phone, then in that case, ACC dot phone would be get text. Let me copy and paste it out. Get text. So whatever the value is present inside JSON payload, assign that value to the phone, ACC dot phone, right? Let me copy it once again. And the next is fax. Fax is also having the same story. Oh, yes, I have pasted it out. So ACC dot fax should get the text. Customer priority. Well, let me check it out whether we have any such field. Customer priority. Oh, yes, we have that. Right? Customer priority. And how this seems to be in the JSON. There is no, it's not needed to have underscore over here. We can give it directly. But in the, here you can mention it directly like this. And later on, like here as well. बिकॉज दिस इट अभी मेरा कहने का मतलब ये है कि यहाँ पे अगर अलग भी रहा तो कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है, वो मैं दिखाना चाहता हूँ। मतलब आप ये ना सोचे कि दिस ऑलवेज हैव टू बी सेम एज ऑफ द फील्ड नेम। जैसे फोन है तो फोन ही होना चाहिए, एनुअल रेवेन्यू है तो एनुअल रेवेन्यू ही होना चाहिए, ऐसा नहीं है। सो दैट आई वांटेड यू टू रियलाइज, उसीलिए मैंने थोड़ा सा वहां पे चेंजेस किया है। सो इफ दैट I mean, going to the next after facts, what it comes after facts, it comes customer priority, but I shall take it from here. Customer priority, so I'll just copy it. Yeah. So if it's a field name, if it's a field name and the value of that field name is customer priority, then what you are going to do would be ACC dot customer priority. See, that is what I wanted you to realize. It's not necessary that inside in the JSON, it always have to be the exact field name, right? Here it is customer priority underscore underscore. See, whereas over here it is. This should match with the JSON payload. They should match with the JSON payload. जरूरी नहीं कि ये उसके साथ मैच हो, हम उसका टेक्स्ट जो भी है वो ले रहे हैं. Alright, so this I wanted you to realize. That is the reason I have made those changes. Now the next we have active status, I guess. And after this customer priority, that is the active status, active. So I would going to, if it's an active, then then ACC dot active status should get the value of that, right? ACC dot active status should get the value. And after that, it is website. After that, it is website. I can just copy and paste it out one last time. So it's website. If it's a field name and if that field name is website, then ACC dot website should get that value. Now let me store this folder. Now once you have created, once you have created this, and when you go out of the loop, I mean at over here, that means your entire JSON content has been passed. Because tell me when we will go out of the scope of this loop, when the next token becomes null. Till the time it is not equals to null, till the time it is not equals to null, you are going to be inside in this loop. आप इस loop के अंदर ही रहोगे. आप loop के बाहर कब आ रहे हो? So you are coming out of the loop when the value of next token becomes null, right? And there is nothing to be get passed. The whole the whole JSON content has been passed, has been scanned, right? Now, what we did every time when we parse a single entity, we have created a record of account, right? We just have created a record name, rating, value of industry, type, ownership, annual revenue, phone, fax, right? We have created. What is the name of that? ACC. So after doing this everything, right? What we wanted to do, we are going to fire a DML to insert that. Otherwise, what would happen? You have created a record, but because you haven't stored that, it's not going to be committed inside the object. All right, to store that inside the object, we would going to write down this insert ACC. And just to cross verify, if ACC dot ID, if that is not equals to null, that means if that after insertion of the record, ID is going to be created. So I can write down system.dy, the account record is created with ID equals to, here I can plus ACC.ID, right? Now let's see with this. Let's see with this. So I am going to parse this content of JSON and we are going to create a Raghav Sharma record. Before that, let me go to the account once again and I shall see how many, if I just refresh this. How many records we are right now? We are having 142 records. So after inserting, the count should ideally becomes 143. Let me call this method. So we are having this JSON parser utility and that dot parse account JSON is the name of that method we have created. So I would be calling this, I'll execute that. There's an error, the insertion has been failed. Oh, we have a trigger. We have a trigger which is submitting a record for approval as soon as you insert. So definitely we would require to disable that trigger. To disable that trigger, I'm going to set up menu for that. And I would be going to develop, going with the Apex trigger. And this is that trigger of account. There's one more trigger on account, but that was in inactive state. I can see one trigger on the account is inactive. So when you try to insert that, it's getting hit and it is trying to, submit what it is doing. What is that error? What is the error message? Oh, what was the error message? We can't save this submit account record for approval process is failed. Right? I'm definitely going to disable that. I also wanted to see what this class is doing. Account. And in this submission of approval, this is not happening with this trigger as far as I remember. It is happening all because of a process builder, if I'm not wrong. I would first of all would disable this. So I'll do one thing. I'll just go and edit this. But I don't think this is happening because of this trigger. I'll disable this and I'll save it out. Because हमने trigger इसके लिए तो नहीं बनाया था. Alright, let me try to execute this once again. हाँ देखो, तो वही मैं कह रहा था कि ये ट्रिगर से नहीं हो रहा है हालांकि, बट ठीक है, आपने ट्रिगर डिसेबल की कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है. Submit account record for approval. This is a process builder that we have created which is getting failed. So let's go and disable that. I would go with create and then go with the workflows and approval. Here we have that process builder column. So that automation is getting hit. It is trying to submit the account record for the approval. This is inactive on the account. This is also inactive on the account. This is also inactive. And this is that submit for the account. This is inactive state, and sync account, phone and fax. These two are inactive state. So we would require to, make them inactive first of all. So I am deactivating this. There's one more. There's one more. I would also require to deactivate this as well. Yes. Now, if I go back, I can see all of them are. First one is on the contact account. We have disabled every automation. Yes. Now let's go back and let's try to execute this once again. Yes, this zoom controls are a little annoying sometimes. Yeah. So we have created one account record now, as you can see. This account record is created. I'll just copy this and paste it out over here. I shall open any account record that, oh, Raghav Sharma, that is that record. So see, this record is inserted inside account object, and this has been inserted. This has been inserted by the JSON. So we, for an instance, we would assume, for a moment, we would assume that there was a third-party system external to the Salesforce. This is Salesforce. Inside in the Salesforce, this is that account object. So what we just have achieved, that external system has sent a data. In external system, say data आया. But that data, because that was in the form of JSON, it was in the form of JSON. That was a JSON content. Sometimes it is also called as JSON payload. There are different terminologies could be used to represent that data. Now, before storing that data inside in the account object, I cannot store JSON directly inside account, isn't it? I cannot do that. I cannot do that. I cannot directly insert JSON into what we did. We converted that JSON into account record, or rather S object record, Apex type, whatever you wanted to say, Apex. And this process, we call this process as deserialization. Now, after performing that deserialization, I have stored that data inside account. So this is what we just have achieved. This is what we just have achieved. Okay, we understand how we can store JSON data inside any object of the Salesforce by a process of deserialization. And that deserialization is achieved, that deserialization is achieved by JSON parser utility class. All right. But this seems to be a very lengthy code, isn't it? This seems to be a very lengthy, although वैसे बहुत simple है, copy और paste ही किया मैंने, तुमने देखा. This seems to be a little lengthy code. Tomorrow, we don't have time today, but tomorrow, I would going to start from the same topic. मैं यहीं से start करूँगा फिर से. मैं यहीं से start करूँगा. But I will show you one optimized way to write down the. And once you know that, but that can be only applicable if you are parsing a content, a JSON payload that belongs to an object, unless you have a wrapper class. So I'm going to show you one optimized way of doing this. Instead of writing this much lengthy code, there is one optimized way to do that. And you would be simply amazed to see how much reduction of this program, would going to be happen when I would show you that second method of parse, right? So that's going to be really very interesting. I would start with that concept first of all. And what is next? Let me see to that. Let me see. You have little more examples. So this I'm going to take. Yeah, I will take it. I'm not going to give you that in homework. Probably this one I can give you in the homework. Yeah. So after doing that, I'm also going to take this. I'm going to solve this. This I'm going to give you in the homework. I'm going to give you this in the homework. Okay, homework ही दे दूंगा. And then we have the next topic called STP classes. Right, we are going good. Right, so that's all for today. All right, any questions? Anybody wanted to ask anything? I have a small thing to discuss. If you wanted to ask anything, please go ahead. Otherwise, let me stop the recording. I wanted to discuss a very small thing. Yes, any questions, guys? Anybody wanted to discuss anything on this on anything? No problem. Any questions?